Body cameras on police, not a new concept, but they could soon be worn by Jacksonville officers. However, the local union filed a claim against the sheriff, who says the union won't talk through things.
We have not ever done a piece of equipment like that before. So, it does create some opportunities to have discussion about how far do you go in collective bargaining.
We'll get the mayor's perspective this morning. Lenny Curry also addresses that big win for his administration and why he's not doing a victory lap about pension reform.
It's a testament of what we can do when we get together and decide we're going to solve a problem, and we plan out the solution, and we work at it every single day, regardless of the obstacles, regardless of the critics.
First, even the critics call it a bitter day in local politics. The Congresswoman elected 12 times, convicted 18 times, and awaiting her sentence. A roundtable discussion on the impact on This Week in Jacksonville. Thanks for being with us on this Sunday morning. This week, a near legend falls. She has been both a star and a lightning rod and a civil rights pioneer in the North Florida political landscape for 35 years. 70-year-old veteran public servant, standing convicted now of ripping off members of the public with what were claimed to be contributions to a charity, contributions the government proved were really going to pay for personal luxuries. As Corrine Brown left the courthouse Thursday afternoon, she didn't say a word. Her friends and family keeping a protective line around her until she got into the back seat of a black sedan that she was driven away on Duval Street there. Her attorney said that she would go home, she would be with family, and she would let it all sink in. The jury convicted Corrine Brown on 18 of the 22 federal counts that were filed against her. Now, they range from fraud to corruption charges. And joining us this morning, a roundtable discussion, if you will. Randy Reep is a local attorney who's provided so many insights throughout the two-week trial. Neil Hendrickson, an attorney and the immediate past chairman of the Duval County Democratic Party, and State Senator Audrey Gibson, current chair of the Duval Democrats, and a longtime friend of Corrine Brown. So I wanted to begin there. Have you been in contact with the Congresswoman, and how has she been in these hours and days following the conviction?
Well, as you know, Kent, and thank you so much for having me. We just ended our legislative session on Monday. And so, and I came back ill, actually. But yesterday, I did send her a text just saying, love you still and always.
Yeah, we heard the night after the conviction, Bishop McKissick talked with us and said kind of the same thing, that the people who love Corrine Brown, regardless of a conviction, continue to love her and support her. And Neil, Congresswoman Brown is something that you've known over the years as well. Your thoughts, and obviously you can come at this from somebody who's worked on the political side, but also someone with that legal background as well.
Sure. You know, obviously very disappointing, the whole situation. But, you know, when I look back in both working on civil rights cases here in the city and then the 4 years as chairman of the Democratic Party locally, you know, I've just had really and seen really a dedicated public servant in the Congresswoman, and just an enormous contribution to the community. So, you know, when I reflect on what's just happened, again, very disappointing, but, you know, I think of a lot of the things that she has done for her constituents and for the community.
Yeah, Randy Reep, you were kind of walking us through this for the entire two-week process of the trial and then conviction. What are your thoughts on this? Because I know at times it could seem like, hearing the testimony, oh, this might be tilting in the favor of the defense or the prosecutors, and when it all is said and done, 18 convictions there.
I think when you look back over the case, the feds don't lose very often. They've worked this case for a very, very long time. Her attorney, I thought, did a fantastic job, where I thought there was opportunities if you loved her and if you wanted to find reasonable doubt. I thought many of those counts it existed. And then we saw the fascinating, you know, juror being replaced and how that all played out. I don't agree that this would be into the first quarter, but certainly we're going to go into overtime.
Right. So that comment is a reflection on Congresswoman Brown's attorney saying it's like a football game. We're the end of the first quarter, and there's much more to come. What is the legacy now of Congresswoman Brown? One of the comments that I heard yesterday from someone who's been in Jacksonville for a long time was, it's a sad day because now this becomes her legacy. There's still a lot of things that we can look at that are legacy to Corrine Brown aren't impacted by this, right?
Oh, absolutely. Certainly, it's the sad end to a very awesome career, and her legacy is contained here in Jacksonville and throughout the district she served up to Orlando. When you go across the Matthews Bridge, Corrine Brown bought dollars home for that bridge. Our ports, she brought dollars home for our ports. And so her legacy is the infrastructure and the veterans clinic that is Jacksonville.
Yeah, well, and she mentioned leading up to the trial that she was going to have her day in court in a courthouse that she helped get built, and at this point was convicted. And Neil, so we can't get too far away from the fact of the matter is, someone who served 24 years in the House of Representatives and before that in the state legislature had defended herself and lost on some corruption charges, some charges that are pretty terrible in the eyes of many people, including the federal government. Where does this do for local Democrats? What does this do on the political landscape in our area?
Well, I think, you know, we have here, luckily in our community, really quite a deep bench of, you know, really great Democrats who are currently in office. The senator,
Sure.
We have, you know, representatives who have shown themselves to be leaders in the community and who will move forward and deliver. And again, you know, a sad situation and, you know, very serious charges and a very serious outcome for the community and for the Congresswoman. But, you know, I think that's part of representative democracy is we don't just rely on one person and moving forward. I feel confident that the Democratic bench here in Duval County is going to be such that we'll have a terrific person coming up forward. We have currently the Congressman Lawson in the seat, but we want representatives who know this community very well. And I think, you know, that void will start being filled as it has been.
Yeah, Senator Gibson, is it going to be a barrier to bringing along new people, providing enthusiasm on the Democratic side because of this?
I think not. The Democratic Party was not on trial. It was an individual trial, though, yes, she has been a very vocal Democrat, yeah. But I'm a pretty vocal Democrat as well, and right. So we have many in our city, and I don't want it to be a distraction or discouragement for anyone who's interested in running. We all just have to cross our T's and dot our I's. There's so many things pulling at all of us as elected officials that we just have to be very, very hands-on, but not fear running for office to represent people if that is truly your desire.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Randy, why don't you help me wrap up here? What is next in terms of a process and maybe clarify something. We've heard from people after the conviction, hey, why didn't Corrine Brown go straight to jail if she's convicted? You can probably explain that for us.
She's not a flight risk. She's not going anywhere, and she's not a threat to the community. This isn't one of those type of crimes where you let a convicted person with violence walk out the door. It's Corrine Brown at the end of the day. There's a whole sentencing process that goes on in the federal system. That's what's going to undertake. We've talked a little bit about the theoretical scoring of it and how a downward departure is very, very likely. There is that issue of the juror being swapped out, motions for a new trial. Judge Corrigan has a lot of discretion, and he exercises that discretion to let this play out with her still enjoying her liberty. Your attorney may be right. There may be some overtime quarters to be played here.
Yeah, things to still talk about as we go forward. And obviously, the Congresswoman, Corrine Brown, has maintained, I'm still innocent. That's not what the jury said. Again, at 18 of these 22 counts. Randy, Neil, Senator Gibson, I appreciate your time very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another voice reacting to the Corrine Brown verdict, one of her colleagues in Congress, Ron DeSantis. He's going to weigh in. You're going to hear that next on This Week in Jacksonville.
So my 7-iron would be better, you think? I would at least keep it out of the water?
Our history is not the same old story, especially midweek with lodging up to 30% off. And you don't have to fight for tea times.
Low on cash and credit? Check out JD Byrider's Buy Right plan. You could get a great car that's inspected, computer tested, serviced, and road ready, and it's backed by one of the best warranties around. Buy your ride right at JD Byrider.
The city, the school, the neighborhood, the cul-de-sac, the neighbors, the house next door to the neighbors, The RE/MAX agent. The RE/MAX agent who scoped out the school, checked out the cul-de-sac, met the neighbors, greeted the mailman, talked to the kids, found a friend, and discovered the house that she knew the family would love at 107 Meadow. The knowledge to find what's right for you. That's the sign of a RE/MAX agent.
So I want my glasses to be unique. My girlfriend loves artists. And I need a conservative pair because her parents hate artists.
Get up to 40% off a second pair of glasses. Schedule your eye exam at pearlvision.com.
Every day on the First Coast, abused and neglected kids are in need of good foster parents. In these children's eyes, foster parents are real-life superheroes just by being there to help. Be a hero to a child in need. Visit foster-now.org.
People are talking about the new Buick. With 4 fresh new models to choose from. And what are they saying?
Your new Buick is so cute.
Love the new Buick. That's a Buick?
Sweet Buick.
Experience the new Buick.
Current lessees, switch to Buick and get this low-mileage lease on this 2017 Buick Envision for around $269 per month.
At Longhorn, tonight's special bone-in bold flavors. Get our new pork porterhouse, our new grilled lamb chops, and our signature outlaw ribeye. And for lunch, try our steakhouse burger or any steakhouse lunch combo. You can't fake steak.
Our history is not the same old story, especially midweek, with lodging up to 30% off and plenty of parking.
An I-Team investigation exposed cars overloaded with deadly debris. It blew up on social media. You sent us photos and told us your stories. So did these scrappers know what they're doing is illegal and could kill?
Do you see how this is hardly held up? You know it's a violation of the law?
We got answers and the one way to protect yourself before you leave your home.
Scrapper danger. Monday starting at 5:30 on News 4 Jax. You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
Congressman Ted Yoho from Gainesville and Ron DeSantis from Ponte Vedra Beach. They are both in their 3rd terms in the House of Representatives. Corrine Brown served 12 terms. Representative DeSantis joined me the day after the verdict came down.
It's not surprising. When the indictment came down, if you look at federal prosecutions and fraud cases like this, when you list all those transactions out in the indictment, you know, they wouldn't do that unless they had that evidence. And so I think those are very difficult cases for defendants to win. And so I thought it would have been a miracle if she wasn't convicted on at least some of them after reading the indictment.
Well, convicted on 18 out of 22, so that's an overwhelming majority of those counts. What's your thought on what this does, maybe from the congressional standpoint? She was a colleague of yours these last several years, but so long that she served this area in the United States Congress, a bit of a black eye?
I don't think it really reflects on the folks. I mean, I personally think this shows why we need term limits, because I think the longer people are there, I think some of this stuff is more apt to occur. Whereas I think folks who are there for a shorter amount of time, I think tend to want to do it right. And it's just, you know, when you're there a long time, it's just your perspective can sometimes change. So I think that if you look at the members who've been bounced out of office for this lately, most of them have been long tenured members.
Congressman Brown, long tenured member, and one of the things that's kind of in play because of these convictions, looks like not going to get a pension, which would have been substantial.
Well, that congressional pension would have been a huge parachute for her, and I think any federal conviction felony should disqualify you. The statute actually only lists certain offenses, but these wire and mail fraud are offenses, and so my expectation would be that she would be disqualified from receiving a congressional pension. So taxpayers will save money as a result of this.
Your background is in law, and so you said you actually have prosecuted federal cases at that courthouse?
Yep.
So you know part of that system. We understand from the former Congresswoman's attorney, hey, this is just the end of the first quarter. There's lots left to do. What's left to do here? I would guess that means an appeal, right?
Yeah, she'll appeal it, and she has a right to do that. I would say, though, just looking at the nature of the case, heavy on documentary evidence, financial transactions, you know, I don't know that there's an obvious light at the end of the tunnel for her. So I would imagine that you will see a process, but my sense would be most or all of these convictions will stick.
politically, you two are kind of at the opposite ends of the spectrum, but in terms of fighting for the region, you both were on the same page, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, there are things that like that Corrine and I both supported, like you know, the Jacksport. We both wanted to bring an aircraft carrier to Mayport. We're still working on that now with the new administration. So yes, there are definitely things that people locally can come together on, regardless of kind of your party. It may not be quite as true as it should be, but it still is true, at least to a certain extent, in an era of a very intense partisan division.
Are you disappointed in her as somebody who served in Congress?
Well, look, I mean, it's a privilege to be able to serve, and I think that members, when you go up there, it's not about you. All you are is a vessel to be able to pursue the principles and values and ideas that your constituents elect you to pursue, but you're really their agent. And I think people that go there and then think it's about them, that is where I think some people kind of get into trouble. And so, you know, it's disappointing to see that when that happens. And it does happen. I mean, look, we have a couple of members, seems like every term, where this happens. And so, I mean, people that get up there are human and have the same kind of frailties that other folks have. When you're in that position, though, it is disappointing, because I think it's not just about you. You let your constituents down.
Coming up, some big city issues in Jacksonville. We're going to talk with Mayor Lenny Curry. Some of those issues include body cameras. We'll get right into that interview with the mayor next on This Week in Jacksonville.
Pamper your feet with this at-home pedicure.
I don't have time for that. My feet get so dry and cracked, I need serious relief. That's why I use O'Keeffe's for healthy feet. Guaranteed relief for extremely dry, cracked feet. Thanks to O'Keeffe's, I got my feet back.
More people than ever are making the move to Nissan, making Rogue America's best-selling SUV. Make the move today. Memorial Day savings start now. Save on Rogue, a car that can help stop for you, and on Titan, with America's best truck warranty. Make the move to Nissan, America's fastest-growing auto brand. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on 11 models, or save up to $11,760 on select models.
It takes several sources of energy to bring you energy. There's natural gas, nuclear, solar, and something else. What led us to build the country's largest solar field of its kind back in 2009, and to continue to grow solar affordably, with 8 new solar fields coming by early 2018 and more to come, all while keeping bills among the lowest in the nation. You must have a source of energy that's pretty darn special. Florida Power and Light.
Firehouse Subs was founded by 2 firefighters over 20 years ago. And once a firefighter, always a firefighter. So they've seen to it that a portion of your purchase at all U.S. Firehouse Subs locations now goes toward providing life-saving equipment for first responders. And one more thing, they make awesome subs.
Now get any of our 10 specialty subs in a new small size, each under 500 calories. Big flavor, small subs, starting at $3.99. Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen.
Hi, I'm John Day. I'm a retired Navy captain, and I've lived here in Brook, Virginia for about the last 15 years with my family. It was the Naval Academy where I first heard about Navy Mutual. There's a lot of decisions that service members have to make. We have a special needs son. My wife was very ill at the time. We needed some counseling and some help. Their mission is dedicated to taking care of its membership. Navy Mutual is just a winner, hands down.
Welcome to Dick Gore's RV World. Come by and see us in Jacksonville off of I-95 at the airport exit.
And you'll find out why everyone shops and buys their RV at Dick Gore's RV World. And remember, if you don't shop us, we both lose.
I recently spoke with Mayor Lenny Curry, and one of the things we wanted to address was the long-rumored run for the state's CFO position. I asked him about that when we visited just a few days ago. He recently said, you've taken your name out of consideration, so I wanted to ask why.
Well, sure. I mean, it's flattering that that my name even got into the conversation statewide, and I think that's a testament to not only myself, but my team, what we've accomplished here in Jacksonville over the last 2 years. And, you know, when originally asked, I was not going to get involved in hypotheticals, but the question, you know, every time the governor was here, he was getting the question, I was getting the question. It was becoming, frankly, a distraction to what we're trying to accomplish in Jacksonville. So I called the governor and let him know that, you know, I don't know where you are on this. because he and I had not been talking about it, but I'm not interested. I've got too much work to do in Jacksonville. We've solved the pension crisis, and now we've got much work to be done here.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about those things. Is there someone else that you would suggest to the governor if he asked? I know a local connection, Senator Aaron Bean, has said, I've got the credentials and I'm interested. Anybody you would recommend?
You know, if the governor called me and asked me my advice, I would certainly offer it, but I'm not in the business of, you know, I've got a long-standing friendship and relationship with the governor, have worked closely with him, and will respect whatever decision he makes and the direction he goes.
Yeah, and he's got to make some decisions on the bills that are on his desk and the budget and all that. And formally, Jeff Atwater hasn't left office yet, so maybe a little time.
And Jeff Atwater has been a good friend and supporter over the years, so I'm grateful for his service to Florida and to Jacksonville.
Mayor, I do want to talk about some of those Jacksonville-related issues, and you mentioned pension. This is something that less than 2 years ago, when you took office, said this is going to be one of my top priorities, but you are not the first mayor to say this is an issue and we need to deal with it, and it hadn't gotten done. This has got to be take a victory lap kind of moment for the mayor's office.
You know, it's good for, I'm not going to take a victory lap because it's my job to solve problems and to capitalize on opportunities. So it's a testament to what we can do when we get together and decide we're going to solve a problem, and we plan out the solution, and we work at it every single day, regardless of the obstacles, regardless of the critics. So I'm great. The people of Jacksonville, 65% of them said that they supported my solution. We got City Council ratified it just a couple of weeks ago, and it's time for better days. Yeah. And a time, frankly, to remain focused on the priorities that I laid out. You know, there are a number of things a city needs to be successful. First, it needs to be a safe city. That's my top priority. It needs to be a city that is that invites job creation. It's about people want a good job. And you've got to have budgets that work, stable budgets that respect taxpayers. By solving this pension crisis, our budgets are now stable, they respect taxpayers. We can continue to invest in public safety and making sure that this is an environment where people want to create and grow jobs.
Yeah, I want to talk more about the public safety component because something came up this week that I want you to weigh in on. But before we get away from pension, it seemed like there was some genuine negotiation that went on. Did you compromise more than you wanted to when it came to some of the things that the city gives up in order to solve that pension problem?
We were all in this together, but you know, the vision and the solution that I laid out to voters from the beginning is exactly what we delivered, and that is we would be getting out of the pension business.
Right.
Jacksonville, Florida is out of the pension business, and that's where the private sector is. We would recognize and reward our employees and our first responders. Policemen and firemen had not had raises in almost a decade. They put their life on the line every day. So we recognize their work, and we'll continue to recognize their work.
Yeah, they got substantial raises there over that 3-year period.
When you don't give people raises for 10 years, in fact, when you cut their pay, that's what it looks like to get folks to the compensation levels they should be at, specifically people that put their lives on the line every day. So, no, I did exactly what I said I was going to do, and we've got bright days ahead.
Yeah. Let me ask public safety. We know this past week, it was Sheriff Mike Williams has said for several months, hey, we are going to launch a pilot program for body cameras. And then this week what we were hearing was the union is saying we've got some concerns. Where do you stand on that? Or are we maybe not ready to try body cameras, or do you support that from the sheriff's office?
Sheriff has told me that we need body cameras, that body cameras are a part of the way forward, will enhance our public safety. So he's the expert. He's been a good partner, so I support him in his decisions on what the tools that he needs, and that happens now to include body cameras.
Yeah, and you're saying public safety is important. You obviously have worked a lot with the sheriff on making sure that he has some resources. Is there more that the sheriff's office needs in order to make Jacksonville a safer place?
They need more cops. The sheriff's office was gutted in previous years before I got into office. In fact, 147 fewer police officers were over to the sheriff's office from the previous administration than before. So I've added 80, my first 2 budgets added 80 police officers and 80 community service officers. We've got to have the manpower and the boots on the ground. We've got to continue to invest in, frankly, in at-risk youth as well.
Maybe last thing, some change happening in your administration. Chief of Staff Carrie Stewart has announced she's leaving for a job here just in another week or two, staying in town at JEA. She had obviously great things to say about working for you. How big a loss is this for you, I guess, personally in the administration? And how big of a part of that success on pension and those other things was she?
Well, look, this is all a team effort. You know, from the solving the pension issue to the other things that we've accomplished these first 2 years, there's no single person. It's not just Lenny Curry. It's not just one member of the organization. It's a team pulling and working together. So, you know, Carrie served my administration well, and it's not uncommon to have turnover in such a visible office. In fact, 2 years is that's a long time. There's a lot of stress involved with those jobs.
Yeah, a lot of stress on some of the other jobs too, but the mayor and that chief of staff certainly are magnets. They get the spotlight for sure. Any idea who will step into that role? Any early favorites? Anybody you're talking to be chief of staff?
I will take my time and make sure that that I make a decision that's good for Jacksonville, that will allow us to continue to get wins for our taxpayers.
All right. Mayor Curry, I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Best to your family. I love seeing some of the updates on social media about how those kids are doing. And
well, I'm back to being a football coach here in a couple of months. So
it is all about the team. All right. Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate it. Well, This Week in Jacksonville airs each Sunday morning at this time. We're excited because we are loaded up for next week, including we have interviews scheduled with Adam Putnam, the Agriculture Commissioner, also the new candidate for governor. He's starting his run to replace Rick Scott. And we're going to look at what Governor Rick Scott decides on the budget, a budget that just made it through the legislature after some overtime for those lawmakers in the Senate and the House. I'm Kent Justice. Thanks for watching this morning.
People in Northeast Florida and South Georgia get their news from News 4 Jax than anywhere else.